New bombshell text messages from the latest filing in the Dominion lawsuit against Fox News have revealed what Fox hosts like Tucker Carlson were really saying about Donald Trump and his presidency in private, even though in public, Tucker and his GOP allies are still trying to rewrite the history of what happened on January 6th. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Fox News has a very unique and very weird relationship with its audience. You see, Fox does something that virtually no other mainstream media outlet does. They tell their viewers that they can only trust Fox News and no one else. They're like a creepy husband from a Lifetime movie. Don't you see, Janet? Your friends are lying to you, Janet. I'm the only one you can trust. Say whatever else you want about the mainstream media, and there's plenty to say about how corporate media limits the scope of acceptable debate in American politics on issues like income inequality or military spending or healthcare, but generally speaking, they don't treat their audience like captive cult members. Like, you can think whatever you want about MSNBC, but last I checked, Steve Kornacki wasn't standing at his big election board saying, the rest of the media will tell you that Wisconsin is here, but I'm the only one who will tell you that actually Wisconsin is here. One of the biggest proponents of that message is Fox host Tucker Carlson, who's been telling his audience for years that the rest of the media is knowingly lying to them, specifically because they hate Donald Trump.
Reporters hate Trump with an all-consuming mania. They hate him so intensely that at times it's been amusing to watch. They've succumbed to Trump hatred that is so intense, it has destroyed their judgment and in some cases affected their character. The people who run things hate Trump obsessively. They always have, you know that. They're not hiding it. Progressives despise Donald Trump so much they've begun to dislike the country that elected him. Hate has clouded their vision and distorted their values completely. One of the reasons progressives say they hate Donald Trump is because he lies a lot. What infuriates official Washington is not when Trump lies, it's when he tells the truth. One of the great unsolved mysteries of the past 4 years is why certain types of people with certain types of jobs hate Donald Trump so much, really hate him, obsess over him, think about him when they wake up in the morning, would hurt him if they could. Why the fixation? The reason the ruling class despises Donald Trump is because they can't control him.
They hate him because they can't control him. He's talking about Donald Trump the way everyone else talks about the cocaine bear. Why the fixation? Why do they hate him so much? Is it because he forsakes all the liberal pieties and says things you're not allowed to say? Is it because he's a brave truth teller and scourge of the establishment who refuses to play along with the woke media regime? Or is it because he's an apex predator who accidentally inhaled several kilos of highly illicit Colombian powder that fell from an airplane in the skies above Tennessee and is now rampaging across the country out of his mind, savagely murdering hikers and drug dealers while being chased relentlessly by Kerry Russell? And if that's the case, why do you hate the cocaine bear so much, Kerry? Is it because the bear speaks truth to power? Is it because he stands up for the working class against the ruling elite? Or is it because he viciously disembowels several bystanders and drug kingpins while loudly sniffing at public appearances because of how much cocaine he's done? Oh my God, he is Cocaine Bear! Also, I'd argue nothing is creepier than the way Tucker Carlson joylessly says he's amused.
Reporters hate Trump with an all-consuming mania. They hate him so intensely that at times it's been amusing to watch.
Ugh, that's like Data from Star Trek reviewing a Richard Pryor album. But don't get me wrong, I still prefer joyless Tucker to when he actually laughs. Oh my God, that's a sound more terrifying than hearing a bear snort a line of cocaine. That's 2 Cocaine Bear references. I wonder if there's going to be a third. We'll have to wait and see. It's a long, closer look. I also love that even as recently as 2020, Tucker was still pretending it was some sort of grand mystery why people hated Donald Trump. Like, even if you forget all the racism and lying and corruption and bigotry, how about the fact that he was just annoying as like, if he was just a guy you met at a party after 20 minutes of listening to him scream uninterrupted about injecting bleach and windmills, killing birds and toilets not flushing and how everyone loves him because he's the greatest ever, you'd pull your spouse aside and say, can we please just go home? This guy won't shut the hell up. And then they'd say, we can't. He's our Uber driver. He just followed us in here. Anyway, that's what Tucker was telling his viewers for virtually the entirety of Donald Trump's presidency. The media and the left hated Donald Trump intensely and obsessively. Those were the words he used. Well, now we know thanks to a new cache of messages contained in a court filing from Dominion's ongoing defamation lawsuit against Fox News that in private he felt much differently.
Thanks to the $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit filed by Dominion Voting Systems against Fox, we now know what Tucker Carlson really thinks about Donald Trump and about Donald Trump's presidency.
We are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. I truly can't wait, Carlson texted an unknown person on January 4th, 2021, adding, I hate him passionately.
Oh my God. It turns out the Trump hatred was coming from inside the house. That's right, Tucker Carlson said he couldn't wait to ignore Trump and that he hated Trump passionately. That's as damning as the time I got caught texting Trump, real talk, I also think windmills kill birds. The only thing I thought Tucker was capable of hating with a passion were female M&Ms who were a 7 or lower. In fact, it turns out Tucker said all kinds of insulting and denigrating things about Trump in private while claiming it was everyone else who had succumbed to intense Trump hatred in public. At one point, according to the Dominion filings, he called Trump a demonic force, a destroyer. In another message, he said of Trump's businesses, all of them fail. What he's good at is destroying things. He's the undisputed world champion of that. In more newly released messages, he called the Trump legal team's election lies absurd and shockingly reckless and said the whole thing seems insane to me. He called Trump's decision not to attend Joe Biden's inauguration so destructive and said of Trump's behavior, it's disgusting, I'm trying to look away. You know, I never would have imagined that Tucker might watch this show until I saw those text messages. I mean, seems like our message might really resonate with that guy. I mean, if you're watching, hey, Tuck. In fact, Tucker's contempt for Trump was so profound and his mockery of the Trump team was so biting that according to a new court filing, he was even texting pictures of Rudy Giuliani's leaking hair dye from the infamous press conference with the message, my mind is blown. Interesting fact, when Rudy's mind is blown, you can tell because his head starts to leak. That's, oh, anyone got a monkey wrench? I need to tighten my brain gasket. And it's worth keeping all of this in mind when you're watching what they say and do now, because sure, you might be thinking to yourself, Fox is just one TV channel, but one of our two major parties is captive to it. In fact, the GOP Speaker of the House, Kevin McChicken, I think, I can't remember, just gave Tucker exclusive access to thousands of hours of security footage from January 6th. In fact, Tucker is still doing his shtick, despite all the revelations on Monday. He had this to say about the 2020 election while introducing his supposed expose on the insurrection on January 6th.
On January 6, 2 years ago, thousands of protesters walked from a Trump rally on the ellipse outside the White House to the U.S. Capitol, where the certification of the presidential election was underway. The protesters were angry. They believed that the election they had just voted in had been unfairly conducted, and they were right. In retrospect, it is clear the 2020 election was a grave betrayal of American democracy. Given the facts that have since emerged about that election, no honest person can deny it.
You're like a guy selling fake bags in Times Square who's not even trying anymore. Excuse me, this Hermes bag is spelled with a P like herpes? It's pronounced herpes. Also, I love the choice of words when he says no honest person can deny that. So since it's now been proven that you are not an honest person, does that mean you can deny that? And if you deny that, then does that mean denying it is a lie? And if denying it is a lie, does that mean you would deny it because you're a proven liar, which would then mean that denying it is actually the truth? Deciphering this bullshit is like staring at an M.C. Escher painting, which incidentally is what Tucker Carlson always looks like he's doing. Tucker's cherry-picked footage from January 6th was such transparent nonsense that even Republican leadership called it out. Various GOP senators called it dangerous and disgusting and a lie, and one even went so far as to call Tucker's report bull. And I have to say, even if you didn't know any of that, just watching what he aired is embarrassing enough on its own. Like, for example, Tucker tried to claim the infamous footage of Missouri Senator Josh Hawley running away from the mob was somehow misleadingly edited by Democrats, but Tucker's proof for that was very underwhelming.
To prove that Josh Hawley was a coward, the committee released video of him loping out of the building on the afternoon of January 6th with a police escort. The tape became a staple on social media. Democrats laughed with derision. But in fact, the surveillance footage we reviewed shows that famous clip was a sham, edited deceptively by the January 6th committee. The clip was propaganda, not evidence. The actual videotape shows that Hawley was one of many lawmakers being ushered out of the building by Capitol Hill police officers. And in fact, Hawley was at the back of the pack. The coward tape was a lie, one of many from the January 6th committee.
Wait, that's your proof that he was slower than everyone else? You're just adding a second insult on top of the first one. Of course he wasn't the only one running. It was a violent attack on the Capitol. The point is not just that he was a coward, it's that he was a hypocrite. He raised his fist to the mob, then he ran away from them. Basically, he's the one who gave the bear all the cocaine in the first place. Hey, bear, I'll share my party favors, but you better not go berserk in the woods. Whoa, bear! What was really a sham was the entire Trump presidency and the propaganda pumped out by Fox hosts like Tucker Carlson, as evidenced by these new court filings. This whole scandal's been shocking, nauseating, but also much like a coked-up bear rampaging through the woods.
It's been amusing to watch.
This has been a closer look.